is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Yes, it is, from the Magnolia Lobby Studio of the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center as our television and radio home. And we welcome you. Yeah, that's Jeff Robertson, Master Control at the Grand Ole Opry House, making it happen for us on the television side. And there are a variety of streaming platforms available to you. At circlecountry.com, you can find out, choose your favorite, or just watch at circlecountry.com. A lot of people choose to do it that way. And WSMradio.com will take it all over the world. You'll never lose us in addition to terrestrial listening. Charlie Mattos is here. Annie Nye, studio director. Kelly Sutton, last seen at midnight 30, leaving the Grand Ole Opry House after a two-show Tuesday night kickoff to the CMA Music Festival, at least as far as the Opry is concerned. But the festival doesn't start until Thursday, officially, in name, if you will.
But you can make a week of it.
Oh, my gosh. The stories that we've got of things that are taking just today.
Yeah.
In addition to the Opry, another two-show night at the Opry tonight.
I popped it on a little after 9 last night, and Carrie Underwood was still singing, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be a long night if the first show has not ended yet. So...
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSM.
I told you our longtime friend Lacy J. Dalton would come calling, and she just rolled in, sat down. Annie and I hooked her up with a cup of coffee, and we are off and running. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. And I got my sidekick here. Dale Panay is with me from out in the west, in the far west where we live. You know, we live a long way from here. We live up in the mountains above Reno, Nevada.
In Virginia City, is that right?
Near the old town of Virginia City, yeah. I moved there because they have what is arguably the largest herd of wild horses on private land anywhere in the country except for Indian reservations.
Well, you and I were just talking about this. Our mutual friend Paula Carr, who may be up listening this morning.
Good morning, Paula, if you're
she's doing with the Mustang Heritage folks. They got a big spectacular coming in June to the Williamson County Ag Expo in Franklin.
That's going to be great.
That led us to conversation about your equine work. So catch people up on that part of your life, and then we'll talk music.
Well, I've been involved with wild horse advocacy since about 1998, and since about 2003, we have had the Let 'em Run Foundation, and my manager, Leslie, is the treasurer, and I have good friends on the board. And what we do is we raise money for the boots on the ground, mom and pop folks who do most of the rehabilitation and rescue and rehoming of wild horses, and they don't get a lot of funding like the big groups. But they do a lot of the work. I mean, a lot of the work, the real actual rehoming of these animals after they're rescued and rehabilitated. So we help them because they don't have time to help themselves.
Were horses a part of your life growing up in Pennsylvania?
Well, they were not.
No.
But my grandfather was a horseman.
Okay.
And he had work horses, great big work horses.
Draft horses, they call them.
Draft horses, yep. And he did logging for the railroad. And I always would love to go up to the farm because I'd run right out to the barn and hug these great big horses.
And what the horses she's describing, think Clydesdales.
Oh, like now I can picture how big.
By a draft horse.
Yeah.
Big, and his horses were very big, and they had to be very strong to do that kind of logging for the railroad. But when I was playing with his horses, they were just a hobby by that time.
Well, this came up off the air in general conversation, but we have to bring it up now.
It did. Well, especially if Paul is having a big shindig out there.
But also what came up in off-air conversation was your friendship with Don Schlitz, whom you said you've not seen in way too long, who may be up listening to us this morning.
If he is. Good morning, Don Schlitz.
A big smile came across your face.
I miss you.
And then you started talking about Tom Schuyler. Take us back to those glory days, because a little later on we'll hear 16th Avenue, which is your anthem, of course.
Yeah, what a wonderful song that's been for me. What longevity that song has had. Holy cow. Somebody told me not long ago that song, they're still using that song when they open their meetings for the Nashville Songwriters Association.
It is the theme of the banquet, of the induction ceremony, which I do the voice for.
Wow.
It has been since I started. I guess it was already in place long before I got there.
I don't know, but it sure feels good, and it sure was wonderful to see Tom after all this time. We did.
That's Tom Schuyler.
Tom Schuyler. Dale, my partner, and I were out in Montana doing a songwriters showcase, and Tom came out, and I got to see him, and I got to sing 16th Avenue while he introduced me singing 16th Avenue, which was a beautiful moment for me. 40 years. We came out a couple of years ago to do the 40th birthday of 16th Avenue. We were came out and did the Grand Ole Opry. Last time I saw you, I think we were out. Might have been before that.
So, I think, how do you get a song like 16th Avenue? How does Lacy J. Dalton wind up with that?
Well, I always thought I was set right in this. I mean, my memories aren't really accurate. I guess somebody asked me if I wanted to write a book, and I said I don't think I could because I don't think the memories would be correct.
And while we know Don Schlitz and Tom Schuyler as Nashville Songwriter Hall of Famers now, they were far from it during this time period that we're talking about, right?
Well, when I met them, they were still great. They were great songwriters even then. They just didn't have that recognition yet. And when I met Tom Schuyler, he was working as a carpenter in my friend Even Stevens' studio. And, Even Stevens and Hilary Cantor wrote my big hit Black Coffee. So I always thought that Even Stevens had taken 16th Avenue to Billy Sherrill for me. Even said, I don't think that's true. He said, I don't know how he got it. I said, I always thought you ran it over there because we were very good friends at the time and still are. And do you know Even? Have you ever had Even on your show?
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
He wrote a great book a few years back. When he
did.
Us. Yeah.
And he's in the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, too.
Well, they all belong there.
So what was it like to work with Billy Sherrill, at least from your perspective?
He was everything that you've ever heard about him. He really was absolutely great to work with. Billy Sherrill was the kind of producer that never told you what to do, but if you had trouble, say, Billy, I can't get this word out the way I want to get it out. He would stop and he'd say, well, try to, looking right at you. If you were having trouble with some pronunciation or something, sometimes if you have an E word or an I word, it's kind of hard to really get power behind it. And he would show you how to do that, but he never criticized. He loved me more than I loved myself. And that is the most wonderful gift when you have somebody who is really truly great, who loves you more than you love he loves your talent more than you even know that it's even there.
Wow.
He brought out the very best in me because he loved me and I loved him back.
So did you know Tammy very well?
Tammy was absolutely wonderful to me.
Because, he created that sound that we all know from her.
He absolutely did. And she always, I remember Tammy, tall woman, and I'm, 4 foot nothing. But she used to, if they were taking pictures and stuff, Tammy used to walk over and she'd put her arm around me and she'd say, how about you take a picture of me? And when I was just, nobody knew anything. And she would put her arm around me and she'd say, take a picture of me and Lacy, but let Lacy be in this picture. She always was inclusive, like very motherly to me.
How about that?
It was, we weren't that far off in age, but she just took me under her wing. They all did. George Jones was the same way.
It's
wild man George Jones.
You described Billy Sherrill and how kind he was. I heard the other day, and the genius of how he let you be you until you stepped in and spoke up and said, hey, I need help here. And he was more than willing.
Always.
I heard that Clint Eastwood, as a director, Morgan Freeman says, he never says we're rolling or speed. The crew is there. When you feel it, you just go with your line in your particular scene. He never directs in that way.
Well, I found
it fascinating.
I think maybe the best of them, they're just there supportive to make you want to do the very best you can for them. And Billy was also funny. He could also be very critical at times. About certain types of things.
He told Nora Wilson famously, Nora said this on the show one time, said on Most Beautiful Girl, hey, did you happen to see? It was originally, hey, mister, did you happen to see? And they were running it through and said, Billy punched in and said, hey, what's the deal with mister? Get rid of the mister. And Naro said it made all the difference in the song.
I probably did because Mr. is that accusing thing.
Yeah. But hey, did you? And now it's universal.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, tell us what you're in town doing, and a lot of friends that are joining you.
We are down here. We are doing Country for a Cause, which is for the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, which has been voted year after year after year as one of the very best children's hospitals in the country, but most especially down here in the Southeast. It's one of the top 2, I understand. and it's a nonprofit, which I think is amazing and wonderful. So we're real happy to be here, and there are wonderful stars on this show. Terry Gibbs is going to be there. I haven't seen Terry Gibbs. Somebody's knocking.
Yeah, she came to see us. Maybe was it last year? Or
She played the Opry. Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
I couldn't
and she'll
remember
be back in a couple of weeks on the Opry stage, which is going to be great.
That's terrific. Yeah.
I haven't seen her in a long time, but Crystal Gale's going to be there, and T. Graham, who just got inducted, and we have to congratulate him.
You want to show your show poster, Charlie?
I've already rolled it back up with its decorative bow.
Oh.
So, yes. Yeah. It'll be framed very soon.
It's at Third and Lindsley, and T.G. Shepard and Kelly Lang are hosting.
Right, and Devin O'Day is going to be there. I'm really excited to see everybody.
Let's see who else I got. Chapel Hart, Sister Sadie, John Barry, Mo Bandy.
Yeah, and a lot of special guests too. So
what's showtime? Do we know?
6:30 tonight.
6:30.
Third and Lindsley.
All right, 6:30, Third and Lindsley. Lacy J. Dalton is on Coffee, Country, and Cody this morning.
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSM.
With goodness, at least 18 big old hit records to her name, to her credit. Lacy J. Dalton is in the studio this morning, and we were talking about the fact you're doing Country for a Cause, 6:30. That's 6:30 tonight, Third and Lindsley. T.G. Shepard and Kelly Lang hosting. But let's talk about the last time you were here. You were going to the Grand Ole Opry, and what an experience that turned out to be for you.
We were just blown away by the technology, and I understand now it's like 1,000 times better than it was then. It was
4 million times better, like 4 million $1 bills better.
Oh well, you know what? Yeah, that's what it takes these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I was so proud of the crew. I've never walked on a stage plugged in and just go. And it sounded great. I could hear perfectly. We did a very peremptory sound check in the afternoon, and walked out there, and it was wonderful. I used to travel a lot for a long, long time with Hank Williams Jr., and he was very, oddly enough, of all guys, he had the most precise stage of anybody. It was, if you did a bad show on that stage, it was absolutely your fault, because his technicians were absolutely great. And so I had an experience of playing these, very big venues with him all the time on this wonderful stage. And I thought, well, that's a pretty good stage. And, Madison Square Garden, Radio City Music Hall, they're good stages. But when I walked out on the Opry stage 2 years ago, and Dale, who's with me here today and has been with me, how long, Dale?
15 long years.
You're very subdued when he. Anyway, but he and I both we were just blown away. It was so wonderful to be there, and because I don't get out here very much.
Right.
I'm way out west all the time and kind of stay out there.
So, when would have been your first Opry appearance? 79, 80, somewhere along in there?
Probably way back.
What do
then.
you remember about it?
Well, I didn't remember the technology being like it was when I was there the next time, and I think I was probably kind of blown away, coming in, because I hadn't been in Nashville, I hadn't lived here or done any of that stuff, and I still wasn't living here at that time. So coming out and doing the Opry, if I can remember anything about it, I just kind of remember being kind of overwhelmed.
Well, we just celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Opry House.
Wow.
That building, which would have been 1974.
Wow.
Would you have played the Ryman along the way in the early days when you were first here?
I did not. Unfortunately, I would have liked that place.
Well, it's still an active venue.
Is
it's about
it?
as busy as any venue in the United States.
I had no
to be
idea.
honest.
See,
Yeah.
I need to come to town more often.
Yes, you do.
I live under a rock up there. What can I tell you?
We're going to make a mandatory tour for you of both
right.
backstage at the Opry and backstage at the Ryman Auditorium.
I have to recommend that backstage tour. I tell everybody, if you go there, do that backstage tour at the Opry, because it's wonderful. And you're probably going to see Jeannie Seeley's probably going to show you around. Wonderful how hospitable everybody is. Friendly backstage. It's a good tour.
I'm curious, when you do a full show, it's kind of easy to fit in every song people want to hear. You can play all the hits.
Kinda.
When you're doing tonight, though, for Country for a Cause, and you get like a couple of songs, are they no-brainer choices, or do you really got to think, I can only do two. Which two am I going to do?
Well, for me, the most identifiable, I'm not here very much, and I'm out there all the time, and so what people remember from here are 16th Avenue and Black Coffee, and I love both songs, so I like to
those are
sing
easy
them.
ones, right?
Yeah,
okay.
That's not hard.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do Little Boy Blue because that song came to me in a dream. And I finished it actually with my son, who was only about 13. The song turned out to be for him, and we wrote the last verse of that song together. And I thought, that's a good song for a children's hospital, because a lot of people, when I sing that song, I'd be at Harris or some of the bigger showrooms, and I would be singing that song, and the whole front row would be just in tears, and I would ask them after, well, we just lost our daughter, we just lost our son, or our son is in the hospital, or people, that song works that way for people. And I believe it was a gift to me because it came to me in a dream.
So was that one you woke up and like immediately, if I don't write this down now?
What was really funny in the dream, the guy in the dream who was teaching me the song said, if you'd practice more often, it'd be a lot easier to teach you this stuff in your sleep.
Wow.
That was in the dream. And I woke up, and weirdly enough, I had...
You went from Billy Sherrill producing to Hank Snow producing, apparently, in your dream.
I don't know who it was, but he wasn't that thrilled with me. But anyway, the guitar happened to be sitting right by the bed, and so I just grabbed the guitar and I started writing this. And I said to my ex-husband, I said, is this a song? Has someone else written this? And he said, I don't think so. He said, I've never heard it. And the song just came out. It was one of those gifts that you write it in about 15 or 20 minutes. But I had to make a single. It wasn't chosen as a single by the record company at that time, but we had to make a single from it because so many people requested it. Would be out, and they'd say, where do I get that song? So we made a single. And,
Well, good for you.
And it still is one of those songs that people really like. So I'm pleased to do it tonight.
We've made several references to those early days in Nashville. How did you get here? How did you arrive in Nashville? Because you had a kind of a psychedelic rock band background prior
How did you
to
know this?
to getting to town. Because that was one of the things I remember.
Your
when
informants are good.
when you burst onto the scene, and that you had a very different background, particularly for country music at that time.
Well, it was really different. First of all, everybody thinks I'm from Texas, but I'm actually from northeastern Pennsylvania. And I ran off. I met a rock and roll guitar player at the county fair there in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, which is a huge county fair.
That's a scene out of a movie right there.
It was just, he was selling psychedelic posters, and I was selling jewelry for Big Joe Ryan. Big Joe. And Big Joe didn't like this guitar player because he had long hair. He goes, you run with lice, you'll get lousy. And I was turning 21 at the time, and we decided to run off to California to experience the flower child experience, to be flower children and to see what that whole scene was about, which I have to tell you, free love my butt. I have never worked so hard in all my life as I did when I lived in a commune with 10 people and about 15 dogs. All I did was cook and clean and get food. It was like, forget it.
Wow.
I can never be a communist.
Have you and Celie ever talked about, because such a similar journey, driving cross country from Pennsylvania to California?
You're kidding.
Yeah, she did it when she was like, I think she was 18 or 19, Bill, wasn't she? Maybe
but
20?
She wound up working at a bank in
she
Beverly Hills.
Worked at a bank.
Well,
yeah.
do you know
You
what?
should have ridden with her.
The one with all the gold in
I should.
California.
Do you know, Celia and I have always had this connection, and I don't know what it is. I don't know. I'm saying this believing that she feels the same way, but I've just always connected with her. I've just always really liked her, and she's so direct. I mean,
Love her
but
for
she
it.
wrote a song a long time ago, and I had quit drinking. I'd been quit drinking for 2 or 3 years, and she had this song called "I Got Whiskey 100 Proof." I got whiskey 100 proof. Who needs you? Who needs you? Who needs you? I said, Celie, that is a hit. I said, you need to record that. That is a hit. She said, well, you need to record it. And I thought, I just quit drinking. Probably not a good idea for me to record that song. But she did. She had a hit on it not that long ago.
Yeah, and does it regularly at the Opry.
Yeah.
The
Oh, it's
audience.
such a good-
Oh, yeah. She's worked in
so many women feel that way.
She's worked in a reference to Willie Nelson. so we'll leave it at that.
Oh, I see. I see.
To hear Seeley sing a little toke on the Grand Ole Opry stage is worth the price of admission, let me assure you. All right, so tonight, 6:30, this huge, very popular, sold-out event for 2024. Country for a Cause tonight, 3rd and Lindsley, hosted by T.G. Shepard, Kelly Lang, benefiting Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt, Crystal Gale, Mo Bandy, John Barry, T. Graham Brown, Grand Ole Opry star, Chapel Hart, Sister Sadie, and our friend Lacy J. Dalton. And we close where this will obviously be in your set because it has to.
It must.
It must be, and it is the way it is. And we thank you for coming to see us always and wish you well. Please come back soon.
It is a pleasure to see you all. We're so happy to be here. Dale and I are happy to do this. We're thrilled to do this benefit.
All right, Luke Combs, you remember back in January, he said, I got this song. It's about my little boy. It was inspired by him, called The Man He Sees in Me. Well, that was January. This is June. How about tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central Time? We finally get this song. Man He Sees in Me, tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central Time. And that was Sam Bush you saw, for those of you watching on circlecountry.com, playing the mando and singing. And he's currently in the top 20 with Ain't No Love in Oklahoma, Luke is. And if you want to know more about tour stops coming to your hometown or nearby, lukecombs.com. Growing Up, Getting Old tour. Thomas Rhett's home team fan club party, going to be able to make it? Not going to be able to make it? Well, fear not. He's teamed up with Veeps, the streaming service, to live stream his celebration this week, CMA Music Festival celebration and performance, free today. He's currently in the top 30 with The Beautiful As You, and if you're going to the CMA Music Festival, you can catch Thomas at Nissan Stadium. Stadium show for him is Thursday, CMA close-up stage, sit-down interview that happens, Fanfare X on Saturday. What else to tell you about? Oh, Sarah Evans, Grand Ole Opry star, with a brand new album, her 11th studio album, and here is your proof of certificate of authenticity for the autograph.
Hey everybody, it's Sarah Evans. I just want to show you that I'm signing my new CD, Unbroke. And some people worry that the signatures are not whatever, real, valid. So I'm just showing you that I'm actually signing all these CDs, and also that I would never, ever, ever send out fake signatures. I always sign all of them myself because I'm honest. And I love you guys. This is one of the best albums of my career. I'm so proud of it. It's called Unbroke. I co-wrote every song except one, and you're going to love it.
Sell it, girl. Sarah's back on the Grand Ole Opry stage Friday, June 28th. And let's see, what else to tell you about before we close? George Strait, making news, new record, Cowboys and Dreamers. No, not right now. September the 6th is the release date. But the label, UMG Nashville, taking advantage of CMA Music Festival, giving you a chance to preview it. If you're going to be at CMA Fest, pre-order the record at the UMG Nashville Takeover at Skydeck on Broadway, and that's happening on Saturday if you're down there. You can get access to the album. There's a listening party for the album, get a little preview, then you can pre-order, and you'll get a T-shirt, a Cowboys and Dreamers T-shirt to go with it. You're up to date for the moment on entertainment on Coffee, Country, and Cody, WSM Radio, all our Circle streaming platforms.
This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Well, I mentioned that James Dupré would join us, and he is on his way to the Ryman Auditorium tonight. There's some tickets still available for the Randy Travis Moore Life Tour. Welcome back to Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Thank you.
And I'm curious, and I think the audience would be too, where does Randy Travis come into your life? First of all, musically as an influence, and then secondly, as a friend.
Well, you know, he was an influence on me since I was a kid, growing up listening to, you know, I was always attracted to really great vocalists, you know, and Randy was one of the top on the list. And
you grew up in Louisiana.
I did, yeah. And just, you know, his music and his singing style and everything is really kind of shaped the way that I sound, I guess, you know. And then, you know, years later, meeting him for the first time, working with Kyle Lenning on a project that I did back in 2011, which is where that came from. And so, you know, he became a friend of mine. We worked together on a movie, and then we stayed in touch through the years and started touring together in 2019.
Yeah, so what was the storyline of the movie? He played I'm trying to recall.
Yeah, so he played as a country music star. Someone named, I think his name was Roy, if I remember right. And I played as his son, except that my character didn't realize that he was my father. I learned that in the movie.
In the storyline.
Yep.
It's called The Price, right?
The Price,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, that's coming back to me.
Yeah. And, so it was really fun working with him on that. And, he's a great actor and learned a lot from him as, just being around him on the movie set.
Well, explain the More Life Tour and how that works and what people will see at the Ryman Auditorium or other show dates that you've got coming up, including Wichita, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri, and in latter part of July, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Yeah, so it's it's a Randy Travis concert. He's there, he's on the stage the whole show. He does meet and greets and interacts with the fans and everything, and it's his band and his music, and it's a great tribute to his music and who he is, and it's a lot of fun. It's fun seeing him with his band, with his old band, just hearing stories and things like that. It's just a great time.
How cool for you to be playing with them too, because there's such history there, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's just really cool. I'm like the young guy on the stage, but it's really neat to just be with those guys and hear all those great stories.
And this is kind of the second incarnation. It's a little different than there was a tour a few years back, which kind of told the story as well. But have you played the Ryman before?
Yeah, in 2019 it was our third date. Yeah,
okay.
And again it's our third date this year. Yeah. So
get the kinks out with those first two shows.
Exactly.
Right? Well, there's nothing like that stage too, though, right? I mean, for 2,300 seats, it's pretty big, but it's like they're on top of you.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's an amazing experience being on that stage for sure.
So you guys would have originally met. You had an artist deal, a label deal. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
And that's where Kyle comes into your life. Kyle Lenning.
Yes.
Randy's longtime producer, and you meet Randy.
Yep.
Now, let's turn the clock forward to AI 2024 and what we're going to hear here in just a little bit, and how that whole thing came down with this new single.
Yeah, so it was a song that I recorded with Kyle back in 2011, and it just kind of it was never released, and it just sat there, I thought forgotten about, but it wasn't forgotten about. So Kyle, had this song in his back pocket all these years.
And it was Scotty Emmerich and John Scott Sherrill.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, and I came up to Nashville a couple months ago for what they told me was a meeting about the tour, and it was actually to show me this song and kind of explain to me, how they did it and everything, and asked me if I wanted to work with them on the project moving forward.
So what did they do? Explain how
so
they
used
built,
your
voice.
They took, I think, 42 tracks of Randy's vocal tracks throughout his career, early on all the way through the later years, and they built an AI model.
So they sample those.
Yeah, I'm assuming. I mean, I don't really know all the technical stuff.
Okay.
This is just how they explained it to me. And they ran my vocal track from that song through the AI model, and after a process of tweaking and everything, it came out as Randy.
Did it give you the heebie-jeebies when you heard the first playback?
Yeah, it was crazy. But it was fascinating. I was really fascinated by it, and excited to be a part of something like that.
Oh, the phrasing, the breaths, it's crazy how good it is, Well, so, and I think for a lot of people, do we get new Elvis songs now, or do we get this? But I think in this instance, it is the perfect use of technology.
Agreed.
If you're going to pick one, this is the one to do it with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Because he's unable to physically sing, and the technology is available to him, so I mean, why not? It's his choice. He's involved.
He hasn't lost his sense of humor, though, right?
No,
he's still got to light up the room, smile, and laugh, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
Hi to Don Reed, Statler brother and Country Music Hall of Famer's 79th birthday today. If you can't make Thomas Rhett's home team fan club party today, guess what? He's bringing it to you. Veeps.com today. He's going to bring the whole party, and a live performance will be a part of that too. He's currently in the top 30 with Beautiful As You, and it's climbing. And if you want to see him during CMA Music Festival, the Stadium on Thursday, that's obviously live performance. And then a sit-down interview, CMA Close-Up Stage, that's happening on Saturday for Thomas Rhett. Who else to catch up on? Grand Ole Opry shows tonight. We have two. And it'll feature Jelly Roll, Cody Johnson, Rhonda Vincent, Warren Ziders, Craig Morgan, Alexandra Kay, and the Opry debut of Struggle Jennings, who was just in studio with us. 7 and 9:30 are the show times, Opry.com.
And Jelly Roll, go to either Jelly or Struggle's Instagram and watch the video of Jelly Roll giving him his Opry invite. It was very emotional for both of them.
The 10th annual Country for a Cause. We talked about this a little earlier this morning with Lacy J. Dalton in studio. She's a part of a lineup that is hosted by T.G. Shepard and Kelly Lang and includes Opry star Crystal Gale, Opry star T. Graham Brown, Chapel Hart, Mo Bandy. Lacy J. will be there, and you can be too. It's happening again at 3rd and Lindsley, 6:30 doors. Tennille Towns, Kendall Marvel, and Aaron Ratier, they're playing the Bluebird Cafe pop-up show. Here, what is that? It's a pop-up show at Garth's Friends in Low Places, but it's a Bluebird Cafe-style pop-up show.
Yep.
And they're doing it at Garth's place. Jackson Dean playing an outdoor gig today at Losers Midtown.
You know, I still don't think they're doing gigs at the Bluebird, so this is kind of how they keep it all fresh and alive still.
And speaking of new albums, Lainey Wilson, we just heard her as a part of my pick of the week with Ernest, and What If I Could. We're going to get to her brand new single, Hang Tight Honey, here in just a second. But new albums. Lainey's new album is called Whirlwind. Wait No Longer. We have a date, August 23rd.
It's weird because I actually told somebody the other day, I said, if this record right here never wins a thing, I still know it's the best stuff that I've ever done. And I can lay my head down at night knowing that 100%. I mean, truth is, I didn't start writing music anyway to win awards. It's just something that has a nice thing that's come along with it. And so I think you got to make sure that you're writing for the same reasons. And that's what we did with this stuff.
You can pre-order CDs and deluxe vinyl, 2LP vinyl, LaineyWilson.com. And Friday, she becomes the newest member of the Grand Ole Opry. Her induction ceremony is taking place Friday, 7 o'clock. And then again at 9:30, she'll officially be a member of the Grand Ole Opry for that performance. Hey, just a smidge ahead of 9 o'clock in America's Music City. And I'll have my pick of the week, which I referenced a little bit earlier. It is from an album, 26-cut album called Nashville, Tennessee, from Ernest, with help from Lainey Wilson, who's got new music coming out. We'll talk more about that with her on the release date, August release date for her new album, Whirlwind. And James Dupré is in studio playing the Ryman tonight. Great seats still available. Randy Travis's More Life Tour. And the story behind this recent, has anything generated more conversation on Music Row than AI and the release of where that came from Randy Travis, with help from James Dupré, which he'll explain. That's all coming up. You're on Coffee, Country, and Cody, WSM Radio, all our Circle streaming platforms, and at circlecountry.com worldwide.